We've all heard that before, na ang Pilipinas ay mahirap na bansa. But the Philippines is actually a third world country. Now, my question is this. Do you actually believe na mahirap nga talaga ang Pilipinas o hindi? Stay tuned because I'm going to be talking about that next. Welcome back. So before natin sagutin yung question na yan, whether you believe that the country is really poor or not, okay, I want to give you muna a background. No? So saan nanggaling itong musing ko na ito about that question? Okay, back in January 1st, okay, so the start of the new year 2021, there was a commentary written in the opinions page of the Philippine Daily Inquirer. It was written by Gideon Lasco. Okay, so ilalagay ko dyan sa caption ang link so that you can actually read the entire piece that Mr. Lasco wrote. No? But essentially, what he was just saying is, yun nga, na yung opening ko kanina, now we've all heard that time and again, so many number of times, over and over, that the Philippines is a poor country, and because we are a poor country, we should not expect to receive good things that the richer countries or the first world countries are actually enjoying. So what are these good and nice things that the first world countries actually enjoy? No? So according to Gideon Lasco, sinabi niya yan, pinention niya yung universal healthcare system of Canada, wherein even though hindi naman perfect ang sistema na yun ng Canada, pero sinasabi pa rin niya na at least, kapag nagkaroon ka ng emergency, hindi ka mababankrupt financially and you will never experience being turned away from emergency just because you don't have money, for example. Okay? The second example of the great thing that the first world country enjoys na ibinigay ni Mr. Lasco na example ay yung Japan. Okay? So, if you've been to Japan, okay, one of the most notable, well, a lot of notable things about Japan, pero yung isa doon ay ang kanilang really excellent, advanced, state-of-the-art train and railway system or the transportation system. Okay? So, as a matter of fact, as of this vlog, okay, meron na silang i-develop, i-launch na bagong update to their Shinkansen or the bullet train. Okay? So, also, in terms of transportation, Mr. Lasco also mentioned about Netherlands, wherein they have an excellent network of bike lanes, wherein talagang binadgetan ng gobyerno at inayos at pinaprioritize so that people will actually decide to commute to work using bicycles. And the last example that was given by Mr. Lasco is the vaccination. Okay, so I think alam niyo na kung saan ako papunta. Okay, but anyway, hindi, ganito. So chances are you have seen this or you've seen a post on your Facebook timeline coming from most likely a friend or a loved one or a relative of yours saying that they have already received a dose or the second dose of vaccine of COVID-19. So especially kung nakatira sila sa United States, sa United Kingdom, even Singapore, okay, and certain areas in the Middle East, and the list keeps on growing. Pero wala din yung Pilipinas. Okay, yun. Okay, so doon lang gagaling yung opinion na sinulat or commentary ni Gideon Lasco sa Inquirer. He was commenting on what the president said na the reason why the Philippines is lagging or we are being left behind in this race to get hold of quality vaccine is because the Philippines is poor. Yun. Kasi ang nagsabi nun ay ang Pangulo ng Pilipinas na mahirap daw kasi tayo kaya hindi tayo nakakakuha agad ng vaccine. So, doon umikot ang opinion ni Gideon Lasco. And he's saying na hindi niya din discount yung reality that there are actually a lot of people in the Philippines who are perhaps living way below the poverty line, and because of this COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated yung pang kanilang kahirapan, hunger, unemployment. Okay? So, hindi nyo din discount. And then also the fact that in terms of sa economy, in terms of per capita, ang Pilipinas, we're actually 120 in terms of ranking in the world. And that's a very far far down the list in terms of ranking. Okay? So, yun yung sinasabi niya. Pero, he also is saying na it is quite misleading and being a defeatist to say and to accept that the Philippines is a poor country. Kasi nga, well, sige, since we talked about economy, in terms of economy, the Philippines is now actually the world's 27th largest economy. Okay? So, hindi siya indication of being poor. Okay? And in terms of what we have, in terms of resources, so he mentioned about gold in Butuan. He also said na, syempre, we have immense biodiversity in the Palawan region. Okay, tapos syempre, madami din tayong natural resources sa West Philippine Sea. And speaking of resources, syempre, ang human capital natin, no, talagang, di ba, ang Pilipino, ang OFW, talagang kahit saang bansa ka sa mundo magpunta, meron talaga tayong overseas Filipino worker. Okay? So, yun yung contention niya, na hindi tayo mahirap per se. Okay? Primarily because of some of those things. Okay? And to say that we are a poor country and to use that as a justification for so many bad things that we can't seem to have or to enjoy is being defeatist, and that's an undignified behavior. Okay? And he's saying that that was exemplified by the country's president. Okay? So, hindi ko na i-discuss yung the rest of his commentary. Okay, as I've said, the link will be in the caption below, so I want you to read through the whole thing, no? But what I want to do in this vlog is I want to have a different take on that question that I posed at the beginning of the vlog, na naniniwala ka ba na mahirap ang Pilipinas o hindi? Is the Philippines poor or not? Ako naman, iba ang approach na titingnan ko dito, hindi on a financial or economic perspective, but siguro a little more on the other meaning of the word poor. Now, if you're going to be looking at Merriam-Webster's dictionary, actually, dinefine niya ang poor as meager, less than adequate, small in worth, inferior in quality. Okay? So, kung yun yung pagiging definition natin ng salitang poor, not necessarily mahirap or dukha or yagit. Ako personally, my answer to that question that I posed in the beginning is, yes, I think the Philippines is poor. Okay? Where are we poor in? I'm gonna give you some list or some things that I believe, that I feel we Filipinos are poor in. So, at the top of this list is ito. Tayong mga Pilipino, we are poor in basic discipline and abiding by rules, by laws, policies, guidelines. You've seen this before. You see this maybe even every day. Okay? At saka ako, more on ang personal experience ko dito, kasi ako naging overseas Filipino worker or OFW, and I also like traveling abroad. Okay? So, I'm sure napansin niyo to, no? So, like, halimbawa, nasa Amerika ka. If you're in the United States, and then you're driving, naku, talagang you will stick to your right lane, to the speed limit, kasi takot na takot kang mahuli nung mga patrol, okay, sa States. Okay, tapos, lipat tayo ng continent, punta tayo sa Asia. Okay, 2 bansa sa Asia. So, yung una, you've been to Singapore. Okay, so, Singapore is known for being one of the cleanest countries. So, makikita mo, itong mga Pilipino, talagang ano yan, pag may mga kalat yan, ilalagay nila yun sa bulsa, sa bag nila, hindi yan talagang nagtatapon kung saan-saan. Okay, and di ba, nagkaroon ng law sa kanila na hindi ka rin pwede, if I remember correctly, you cannot chew gum. Okay, so, talagang, hindi talaga mag-chew ng gum ang Pilipino kapag nasa Singapore. Okay, and the other country in Asia that I can remember, that I can think of is Japan. No? So, ako, I just went to Japan last year. Tapos, I particularly noticed how everybody follows signs and yun nga, and rules. So, for example, yung people who will take the escalator, okay, those who will be just standing, okay, or resting, okay, they will stay on the left side of the escalator, and then the right side will actually be specifically for those who are in a hurry and who would like to to overtake. Okay, so napansin ko, hindi na siya kailangang lagyan ng signage to explain that, and people actually do that. And mind you, Filipinos follow that rule. Okay, so kung may sign dito na this is where you should go, this is what you should do, ginagawa ng mga Pilipino in Japan, in Singapore, in the United States, and in the rest of the world. But the question is, why is it that when you're here in the Philippines, hindi mo masunod yung basic rule? So halimbawa, yung example ko kanina na driving, diba? Ako, personal experience. So somebody was driving and then sinabi ko sa kanya, uy, bes, parang no left turn yata dyan. Okay, tapos sasabihin niya, naku, hindi yan, hayaan mo siya. Okay, o hindi, kilala ko yung taga, mapsa. Yung mga ganun, no? So, meron tayong sense of entitlement, meron tayong little sense of yabang, okay, of ownership kasi nga, tayo dito first class citizens tayo, unlike in other countries, we are second class citizens, okay? So, yun yung feeling ko na mindset natin, na mayabang tayo. The second thing that I can think of na Filipinos are poor in is yung we're poor in the hatred of laziness and mediocrity. Okay, so what do I mean by this? Okay, kulang na kulang tayo sa wanting to have a real sense of quality, of excellence. Okay, parang sa atin, napapansin ko ang mga Pilipino, mahilig tayo sa pwede na yan. Okay, okay na yan. Hindi na yan mapapansin. Okay, naku, yun na yung best effort eh. Okay, ang hilig-hilig natin sa ganun. And you know what? I was actually meaning to make another vlog about this. So I don't know if I will get to that. Okay? Pero gusto kong i-vlog sana at some point yung kasi ako na-encounter ko to or na-observe ko to sa Pilipinas. Kung ano magtatanong sa contractor or sa isang tubero, karpentero, okay? Sabihin mo sa kanya, so kuya, magkano ba yan? Tapos ang isasagot niya sa'yo, ay kayo na huy bahala. Okay? So sa akin parang walang konsepto yun ng value, ng excellence, ng quality. Kasi parang you're leaving it up to the hands or the decision of your client to tell you kung magkano ba yung servisyo mo. Ikaw dapat yung nakakaalam nun kasi nga the very basic background or the baseline of that is you know your worth, you know how good your quality of work is. So kapag sinabi mo dun sa kliyente mo or dun sa nagtanong kung magkano yung servisyo mo, tapos sinabi mong bahala na ho kayo, ibig sabihin, wala ka talagang sense of quality. Wala kang fixed na kalidad kasi nga nagbabago. Okay? So, circling back to what I just said about quality, yun nga, parang hindi maganda sa ating mga Pilipino. Yung ganun na parang, na-notice ko yun eh. You know, like, there are things that I have asked to be done, works here hindi lang naman dito sa Bataan, no? But even when I was in Manila, nagpapagawa ako kunwari sa Globe, o kaya nagpadala ako sa LBC, or, you know, I don't wanna name drop anymore, no? But what I'm saying is, yung kalidad ng serbisyo na ibinibigay ng mga Pilipino, parang more of, yun na nga wala tayong concept of excellence. So, doon tayo poor. We're very poor in hating yung pagiging mediocre, yung pagiging so-so, pagiging bahala na, okay na yan, okay? And yung laziness natin to actually have excellent quality, to have sense of urgency, okay? And to achieve our goals and plans and objectives. Pangatlo, okay? Saan pa tayo poor? The Filipinos are poor in discerning and calling out false news or propaganda. Okay? Lahat tayo naging guilty na dyan. And ako hindi ako mamalinis, naging guilty din ako dyan at some point. No? Pero kasi, ang hilig kasi nating mag-trigger happy sa forward, sa like, or heart, whatever. Okay? Hindi natin tinitignan kung ano yung veracity or kung valid ba. Okay? Kung authentic ba or fake yung news. So, kung nagkataon na fake yung news, tapos i-repost natin yan, shinare natin, finorward natin sa isang Viber group natin or a group chat ng family, ng barkada, ng office, nakaka-contribute tayo doon sa false information, dissemination of information. Okay? And that is not a very good quality. Kaya wala nga tayong discernment. Okay? Hindi tayo nag-iisip. Yun, ganun yun kablan. Okay? So, ikaw ba gusto mo sinasabihan ka ng tao na ikaw alam hindi ka nag-iisip? Okay? That for me, pag sinabihan ako ng ganun na ikaw, Ben, hindi ka nag-iisip, sobrang masakit yun sa pride ko. Okay? Kasi nga, I'd like to take pride in claiming na ako, hindi ko sinasayang yung brain cells ko. Okay? Nag-iisip ako. Okay? Maybe sometimes, a little too much or to a fault. Okay? But yun nga, so we're poor in terms of yung paggamit ng ating judgment na, and by judgment I mean being rational per se. Okay, marami pa akong gustong idagdag dito sa list, kaya lang baka umabot ng 1 hour itong vlog na to. So I will give you my last item in things that I think the Filipinos are poor in, no? So ang last item ko, and dare I say I have saved the best for last. Okay? The one thing that the Filipinos are poor in is our concern to help others in the sincere desire to be of service. Okay? Kasi nagkakaroon nga tayo ng, ayun nga, we're being selfish, we have sense of entitlement. Kaya bibigyan ko kayo ng concrete example. If you are like me, na nagko-commute, sumasakay ng MRT, LRT, ng bus, ng jeep, okay? You might have experienced this. Rush hour along EDSA, Ayala, or Cubao. Tapos papasok ko dun sa harapan, siksikan lahat na tao, yung nakaganyan yung mukha, nakaganyan. Yung parang mahihiya talaga yung ligo, tsaka 555 sa sobrang pagkapuno ng bus. Pero, lo and behold, kapag katapos mong ma-squeeze in yung sarili mo na hindi mo alam kung paano ka nagkaasa sa ganito kaliit, ang waistline mo ay 30 to 34.
Wow!
Pag silip mo dun sa may likod, ang luwag. Pwede kang mag-jeté or mag-pirouette from the middle up to the back. Okay, so bakit maluwag ang likod? Kasi alam mo ang answer dyan? Kasi ayaw ng mga taong pumunta sa likuran. Kasi nga, it's going to be inconvenient for them to actually walk 5 to 10 extra steps para makababa galing doon sa likuran. Okay? So, they would rather just have other people be inconvenienced kesa sila ang magkaroon ng inconvenience. Okay? And that is very bad. That is very inhumane. Okay? And dare I say, not human. Kasi nga, wala kang concern dun sa mga ibang tao, tapos ayaw magbigay ng mga tao. Okay, so hindi uusod. Okay, tapos yun nga, in a previous vlog that I've had, I've also mentioned na the Filipinos, us in general, we have forgotten the value or the essence of gratitude. So hindi na tayo marunong mag-thank you pag may nagbigay sa atin ng tulong, ng assistance, ng serbisyo. Okay? So but that should not be a justification for us to actually not have a sincere concern for others. Ito yung na-experience ko to before, no? Sumakay ako ng bus galing ng East Avenue. Yung mami ko kasi naoperahan siya nagkaroon siya ng eye surgery. So, as I was going home, sumakay ako ng bus, tapos nagkaroon ng hold up. There were just 2 people. And the bus was like, at least, I don't know, 50 people. Aba, in my mind, kung kukuyugin namin yung dalawa, talagang bugbog sarado yung mga yun. Diyos ko, taong pa lang ng sapatos ko. Patok na yung bumbu na nun. Okay. But, you know, I looked around, ganito itsura ng mga tao. And that, nakaka-dishearten kasi Pilipino tayo magkakapatid tayo. We are of the same heritage, of the same lineage. But we don't care for one another. We treat others as if they don't matter. That the only thing that matters in this world is ourselves. Okay? And that's just not right. Okay? So, yun yung sa palagay ko, doon tayo pinakamahirap where the Filipinos are poorest. Okay? In our concern for other people, the sincere desire to help, to be a brother, to be a sister, to offer a helping hand, a shoulder to cry on. Wala. Ngayon lagi tayong what's in it for me? Bakit kita tutulungan? Diba? Wala naman akong makuha. That is not something to be proud of, Filipinos. We should stop that. We should change that. We should have a major overhaul of how poor we are in these things. So, siyempre sinabi ko earlier na yun na yung last ko, no? So, apparently, penultimate ko pa lang yun. No? So, gusto ko pang dagdagan ng isang last na lang. Okay? So, since medyo naging emotional naman ako dun sa second to the last, I think what the Filipinos also are poor in is our true love country? Nasaan yung tunay na nationalism, patriotism? Yung listahan na sinabog sa inyo just now, these are symptomatic of a country that has lost its countrymen in terms of love of country, okay, of nationalism, of the desire to be one, to be of service. Nawala yung mga yon. And that is the very reason why the Philippines is poor. So, hindi tayo poor in natural resources and human capital. We are actually poor dito sa mga values na ito. Okay? We see a lot of corruption happening in government. Huwag na kayong dumagdag. Diba? Nahuli ka ng pulis, huwag ka na maglagay. Do the right thing. Okay? Integrity and excellence should be at the heart of your core values. Okay? Yun yung lagi kong sinasabi. And earlier on, I've mentioned that you should always respond based on your values. Now, if you don't have good values, all you have are vices and negative traits, it is really going to the dogs. Ganito lang yan, guys. Ang tunay na ibig sabihin lang ng nationalism ay napaka-basic. Kung hindi mo mamahalin ang bansa mo at hindi mo gagawin ang the best you can to actually help, improve, develop, and make your country better, no one else will. Okay? Kung hindi mo mamahalin ang bansa mo, sino ang magmamahal? That being out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, my dear countrymen, fellow Filipinos, mahalin po natin yung bansa natin. Mapagod na po tayo sa mediocrity, sa lack of integrity, palabra de honor, at sa sincerity to actually make this country better. Okay, to risk sounding like the late the late President Donald Trump. Let us make the Philippines great again. So that's it for my vlog. Sorry, medyo naging emotional ako kasi yun nga kasi sometimes we feel desperate because of these things, but despite these things, however, kailangan lagi tayong may glimmer of hope, and then dapat sana meron tayong commitment to actually make our country and ourselves for that matter better, so that we will all work together to make the Philippines not poor. Okay? So from here in Orion, Bataan, I hope and wish that you are all safe, healthy, loved, and loving your country. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you in my next few vlogs. This is VJ Bentong.
If you like this video, please click like, share it on your social media, and if you haven't yet, click subscribe and that bell.